However, his heart was very heavy because he could not see through this person called Su Tu at all. "You're..." Su Tu's cold voice could be heard. He then took a step forward. In an instant, he was near Lu Ming and threw a punch. Boom! This punch contained an astonishing and terrifying power. The terrifying power filled the void and crushed toward Lu Ming like an avalanche. There was no way to dodge. He could only take it head-on. Lu Ming let out a low roar. He gathered all his energy and slashed with his sword with all his might. Boom! Lu Ming felt as if he had slashed an iron wall. Endless power surged and the battle sword shook. It almost flew out of his body. Lu Ming was sent flying by the punch. His body smashed into the ground like a meteor. The ground shook violently, and a huge crater with a circumference of hundreds of thousands of li appeared. Everything was reduced to ashes, and cracks spread out for tens of millions of li. Fortunately, all the living beings within hundreds of millions of miles of the heaven-suppressing rune had been evacuated. Otherwise, who knew how many living beings would have died? Lu Ming, in the distance, Xian Yanqing turned pale with fright. Her eyes were filled with endless worry. Boom! In the next moment, a purplish golden light shot out from the huge pit. It was Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if his body was about to split apart. Waves of pain shot through his body. Even though he had activated the indestructible ancient scripture, it was useless and his recovery was slow. Such terrifying strength. Lu Ming was shocked. Su Tu was definitely a terrifying existence. His strength was far above level 2 empty god realm. Ancestral Gragon had said that the small thousand world would be dangerous for those above level 4 empty god realm. Therefore, Su Tu might be a level 3 empty god realm existence. Not bad, not bad. You still have the strength to struggle after receiving my attack. Your talent is not bad even in the chaotic universe. Unfortunately, your fate is sealed. Su Tu's eyes became colder and there was even a tinge of jealousy. Boom! A terrifying aura burst out from Su Tu's body. Rumble! Crack! In the sky, a deep rumbling sound rang out. An extremely terrifying scene appeared. With Su Tu as the center, the void exploded unceasingly. Numerous malevolent spatial cracks appeared. It was as if the entire world was about to crumble apart. The space of this small thousand world is really weak. However, it's just enough for me to unleash my strength. Kill! Su Tu's face was ferocious as he charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's pupils contracted rapidly. He was highly focused and his essence, qi, and spirit were at their peak. Swoosh! Lu Ming retreated rapidly. You can't retreat. Su Tu's cold voice resounded. His speed was even faster and more shocking. He quickly approached Lu Ming and threw out a punch. Rumble! The empty space within a radius of a few million miles exploded in an instant, forming a terrifying spatial storm that swept towards Lu Ming. Terrifying. Su Tu's strength was too terrifying. Every move he made had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. If he unleashed his full strength and bombarded the ground, he could definitely destroy the entire Taiching sky domain. No wonder the ancestral Gragon said that if a powerful existence entered a small thousand world, it would collapse. The stability of a small thousand world was incomparable to that of the primitive universe. In the face of Su Tu's attack, Lu Ming could not avoid it. Break, break, break! Lu Ming roared and slashed out with his battle sword. However, Su Tu's strength was too strong. Lu Ming felt his battle sword vibrate violently and his body was sent flying again. He hit the ground and the ground kept cracking. Lu Ming vomited a mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured. He took out a fruit of life and swallowed it. As soon as he swallowed the fruit of life, his injuries healed rapidly. You have this kind of divine medicine, but it's useless. Su Tu stepped forward and threw out a series of punches. Boom! 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 Streams of terrifying fist force crushed out. Lu Ming did not have the ability to resist at all. He was hit continuously and slammed hard onto the ground. This time, Lu Ming's body almost exploded. His body was covered with cracks and he no longer looked human. Even with the fruit of life, it was difficult to recover. Chapter 2568. Lu Ming, in the distance, Xian Yanqing's eyes turned red when she saw this. She clenched her teeth, and a look of determination appeared in her eyes. Her body began to emit a black light. Her hands rapidly formed seals, and her aura began to rapidly rise. Su Tu, the bald man, and the others looked at Xian Yanqing in surprise. Interesting. This small thousand world is really interesting, Su Tu muttered as his eyes burned with excitement. Suddenly, the space beside Xian Yanqing flashed and Xian Yanjuan appeared. Xian Yanqing, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind? Your foundation will be destroyed and you'll be a cripple in the future. Xian Yanjuan scolded. I'm not out of my mind. I have to save Lu Ming. I can't watch him die. Xian Yanqing's eyes were filled with determination. Even if you use that secret technique, you're still no match for them. Also, are you not going to do that thing for Lu Ming? Xian Yanjuan scolded. That's the Tang family's matter. I'm not a member of the Tang family. My surname is Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanqing said. Xian Yanjuan was speechless. Indeed, Xian Yanqing had devoured the memories of her past life. Strictly speaking, she was no longer a member of the Tang family. Xian Yanqing's aura grew stronger as if it was about to reach the martial god realm. This is, Dandan, the Chaos Arch, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, and the others looked at Xian Yanqing in shock. Am I going to die here today? Underground, Lu Ming lay in a deep pit that was tens of thousands of miles deep. Various thoughts flashed through his mind. Su Tu was too powerful. He was no match for Su Tuesday. He had given it his all and the battle character skill had doubled his combat strength. His combat strength had reached its peak and he was able to suppress a level 2 empty god. However, he was still no match for Su Tuesday. It was completely one-sided. What to do? Lu Ming was unwilling to give up. Once he gave up, the heaven-suppressing rune would be opened and the experts of the Yuan Luo Hall would enter. The living beings of the heaven domain would most likely be doomed. His parents, Xian Yanqing, his son, granddaughter, and friends were all in danger. He had to protect them. Ruler. Ruler. Ruler of the world. If I can control the power of this world, I can deal with Su Tu, that's right. The reason why the heavenly Tao suppressed me was because it was afraid that I would dominate it. Now, I have broken through, thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Since the heavenly Tao was afraid of him breaking through, but now that he had broken through, could he have the power to dominate this world? Immediately, Lu Ming's spiritual sense spread out infinitely. Ruler. Give me control. I am the ruler of this world, Lu Ming roared in his heart as his body emitted a dazzling purple gold light. Rumble. At this moment, the entire world was shaking. Endless energy suddenly surged towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that the entire heaven domain, even the Yuan realm and the evil god world were under his control. He could use the power of the entire world. This is, Su Tu's pupils shrank rapidly as shock filled his eyes. Damn it! Kill! Su Tu roared. He unleashed his full strength and punched continuously, bursting out terrifying attacks. Waves of terrifying fist energy blasted towards Lu Ming. However, a wave of energy formed around Lu Ming's body and blocked all of Su Tu's fist energy. How can this be? Quick, attack together. Attack together and interrupt him. Su Tu could no longer maintain his composure and roared. Attack! The bald burly man and the other two attacked at the same time. All kinds of attacks bombarded Lu Ming. However, they were all blocked by the energy around Lu Ming's body. That is, at this moment, Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, and the others in the distance were also shocked. Xian Yanqing was about to use some kind of secret technique to advance and retreat with Lu Ming at all costs. At this moment, the secret technique also stopped. Her aura fell again. Is this the power of the entire world? It's too terrifying. At this moment, Lu Ming was in a strange state. He seemed to be able to mobilize the power of the entire world. Then, let's kill. A cold murderous intent burst out from Lu Ming's eyes. The battle sword in his hand suddenly slashed out. This slash mobilized the power of the entire world. Bam! A sword light slashed out, and the attacks of Su Tu and the other three collapsed. The sword light did not stop and slashed towards the four of them. Not good. Su Tu and the other three's faces changed drastically as they frantically retreated. However, the sword light was faster. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere. The bald man, the bat humanoid, and the giant python all came to a sudden stop. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. Following that, their bodies directly exploded, turning into ashes and disappearing. Only Su Tu retreated. He spat out a mouthful of blood and a long sword mark appeared on his chest. He had almost been cut in half. Mobilizing the power of the entire small thousand world. Damn it, D***MN. This is equivalent to the power of a level 4 empty god realm. Su Tu roared in anger and fear. He retreated quickly, tearing the space apart as he tried to escape. Trying to escape? In this world, I am the master. Lu Ming's cold voice sounded. A huge hand suddenly appeared behind Su Tuesday. It was extremely huge and it pressed down on Su Tuesday. Bam! Su Yu was sent flying like an eagle, slamming into the ground. Everything within tens of millions of kilometers around him was destroyed. Su Tu spat out a mouthful of blood and his body almost exploded. The situation at the scene was completely different from what had happened just now. Damn it, D***MN. Su Tu roared in his heart. He glanced at Xian Yanqing and the others and a ferocious look flashed across his eyes. He dashed out towards Xian Yanqing and the others. He wanted to capture Xian Yanqing and threaten Lu Ming. However, the entire world was under Lu Ming's control. How could he let Su Tu do as he wished? Su Tu moved and a spear radiance appeared in front of him. It pierced through Su Tu's body and nailed him to the ground. Su Tu struggled with all his might. However, Lu Ming mobilized the power of heaven and earth to suppress him, making him unable to move. Ah, you are courting death. Do you think you can live after killing me? When the true experts of Yuan Luo Hall take action, your small thousand world will be destroyed. Su Tu roared in anger. F***CKU. Lu Ming arrived above Su Tu and slashed down with his sword. Poof! Su Tu was killed on the spot. Up until now, Lu Ming had killed several gods in front of the heaven-suppressing talisman. Including the first one, he had killed a total of 6 gods. RIP. At this moment, the space not far away cracked and Ancestral Gragon appeared. At this moment, Ancestral Gragon was covered in blood and injuries. Fortunately, he was fine. After an intense battle, Ancestral Gragon successfully killed his opponent. Ancestral Gragon's strength was about the same as his opponent's. However, his opponent was injured and weakened by the heaven-suppressing rune. In the end, he was killed by Ancestral Gragon. Chapter 2569. Senior Ancestral Gragon, please wait for a moment. Let me look around and see if there are any experts from Yuan Luo Hall. Lu Ming said to Ancestral Gragon. After that, Lu Ming closed his eyes. At this moment, Lu Ming dominated this part of the world. Therefore, he could sense any place in the heaven realm, and the evil god realm. He could even sense it in the dark void. There is one more person. In the dark void, Lu Ming sensed a powerful existence. He should be at level 2 empty god realm. He was sitting cross-legged in the void and healing himself. Suddenly, the person opened his eyes and looked shocked. He turned around and ran away. Do you think you can run away? Lu Ming sneered. He gathered the power of the heaven and earth to form a combat sword and slashed down. Ah! The person screamed in pain and was killed. A level 2 empty god realm expert could not withstand one blow from Lu Ming. Lu Ming was too powerful. He could dominate the heaven and earth and gather the power of the heaven and earth. He was comparable to a level 4 empty god realm expert. It was easy for him to kill a level 2 empty god realm expert. Then, Lu Ming continued to search. However, he did not find any traces of other experts. The experts from Yuan Luo Hall who had entered the area had all been killed. At that moment, Lu Ming's aura returned to normal. As for his injuries, he had also completely recovered. Lu Ming, did you gather the power of the heaven and earth just now? Ancestral Gragon looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming nodded. Then, he waved his hand and the storage rings left behind by the experts were collected by Lu Ming. Lu Ming, are you okay? At that moment, Xian Yanqing flew over with a concerned look. Then, Dandan and the others flew over. I'm fine. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled. After chatting for a while, the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the others left. Not long after, the news of Lu Ming killing the deities spread. Many people were shocked when they heard about it. Lu Ming had killed the deities by himself. That was a god. It was like a myth. Lu Ming's prestige in the hearts of everyone in the heaven had reached the peak, even surpassing that of the ancestral dragon. In their opinion, Lu Ming was the deity of the deities. However, Lu Ming and Ancestral Gragon. In the area of the heaven-suppressing talisman, Ancestral Dragon and Lu Ming were discussing matters. This can't go on. If the Yuan Luo Palace finds out that they've failed, they'll surely send out even stronger experts. Ancestral Gragon frowned. Senior, what should we do now? Asked Gragon asked. A small kiliacosm is a great fortune for the Yuan Luo Palace. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't bear to destroy it. However, we can't guarantee that they won't do such a thing in a fit of anger. If they send someone above level 4 empty god realm, they can completely destroy the heaven region, Yuan realm and evil god realm. Ancestral Gragon frowned and pondered. After a while, he said, now, there's only one way to survive. Senior, please tell me. Said Lu Ming. That is to take the initiative to attack. Now, the Yuan Luo Palace doesn't know that the people they sent in have been wiped out. They must be waiting for good news. Therefore, the forces outside the heaven-suppressing rune shouldn't be too strong. Now, if we take the initiative to attack and tear open the heaven-suppressing rune and rush out, we might have a chance to succeed. Said Ancestral Gragon. Rush out. Lu Ming muttered. He pondered for a while and said, all right, let's go. Lu Ming was a decisive person. If they continued to stay here, they could only wait for death. However, if they rushed out, they might have a chance to survive. However, there's an important problem if we rush out. It's the problem of your small kiliacosm. Said Ancestral Gragon. The problem of the small kiliacosm? Lu Ming was confused. If they wanted to rush out, they would have to take most of the living beings into the small kiliacosm and bring them out. The chaotic universe is a truly ancient and perfect world. It's a true great thousand world. A small kiliacosm can't coexist with such a world. Therefore, once you enter the chaotic universe, the small kiliacosm will leave your body within a year and merge with the chaotic universe. It will become a part of the chaotic universe. Said Ancestral Gragon. What? The small kiliacosm will merge with the chaotic universe? Lu Ming's expression changed. In that case, wouldn't his cultivation drop rapidly? However, there's one thing you don't have to worry about. The chaotic universe is fair. When your small kiliacosm merges with it, it will give you the same amount of energy. Therefore, your strength won't drop. However, the creatures you bring out will all be exposed. This way, our tracks will be exposed. Therefore, once we leave, we must find a safe place to settle everyone down within a year," said Ancestral Gragon. "I see. Only a year?" Lu Ming muttered. In other words, after they got out, they had to get out of danger within a year. Otherwise, it might be even more dangerous. "Lu Ming, you can decide on this matter," said Ancestral Gragon. "Let's do it," Lu Ming said with a determined look. Instead of waiting for death, it was better to fight to the death. Ancestral Gragon's eyes were filled with admiration. There were not many people who could be so decisive. "Alright, since we've decided to rush out, we have to do it as soon as possible. Otherwise, the other party will react and gather more experts," said Ancestral Gragon. Then, the two of them discussed and split up. They wanted to gather most of the living beings in the heaven realm. Fortunately, many of the humans in the heaven realm cultivated the law system and had opened up a small kiliacosm that could hold a large number of living beings. Lu Ming first returned to the Dragon Emperor Peak and told everyone about his plan. Everyone agreed and then spread the news. The entire heaven realm began to move. Most people were willing to fight to the death when they heard about the plan because staying here would only lead to death. Some people in the small kiliacosm took the surrounding people and divine beasts into their small kiliacosm and then rushed to the place where the heaven-suppressing rune was. In just 10 days, almost all the places in the heaven realm were emptied. Many ordinary people were also taken into the small kiliacosm. Then, everyone gathered the heaven-suppressing rune. Then, Lu Ming took everyone into his small kiliacosm. In this way, most of the living beings in the heaven realm were taken into the small kiliacosm by Lu Ming. The heaven realms suddenly became empty. Under the heaven-suppressing rune, only Lu Ming and Ancestral Gragon were left. "Lu Ming, let's begin," said Ancestral Gragon. "Okay." Lu Ming nodded, and the two of them began to tear the heaven-suppressing rune. It was easy to tear the heaven-suppressing rune from the inside of the heaven realm, especially with Lu Ming's power that could dominate this world. Hiss! Not long after, the heaven-suppressing rune was finally torn off by the two of them, revealing a dark passage. "I've really raised you in vain." Condor's face darkened. On the side, other than the old man, there were two other large men. However, at this moment, all of them were as silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to utter a word. "Give them another month. If there's still no news after a month, you guys can directly attack and destroy that small kiliacosm. It's just a small kiliacosm, this young master doesn't want it." Kong Long gritted his teeth. "Yes, yes." At the side, the others nodded repeatedly. Suddenly, a voice sounded out from afar. "Young master, there's movement in that lesser thousand world." A skinny young man who was not much older than Kong Long flew over and said, "There's movement. I think Su Tu and the others have settled it. Let's go and take a look." Kong Long took the lead and flew forward. The others followed. In front of them, there was a valley. In the valley, there was a huge black vortex that was constantly rotating. When Kong Long and the others arrived, they heard a constant rumbling sound coming from the black vortex. Not long after, the sound disappeared. "It's coming." Kong Long and the others' eyes moved. They saw a figure appear in the vortex. Then, the silhouette slowly became clearer. "Ha!" Kong Long and the others were stunned. This was because they did not know the figure. It was not one of their men. It was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. He was handsome and tall. This young man was naturally Lu Ming, who had come from the heaven realm. "Stop him." Kong Long saw that it was not one of his men and waved his hand. Suddenly, the 5 or 6 large men who were guarding here moved and surrounded Lu Ming. An astonishing aura burst out. "Empty God Realm, they're all in the Empty God Realm. They're all at level 2 and level 3 of the Empty God Realm." Lu Ming's pupils suddenly shrank. This is bad. These people's cultivation levels were too high. Among the 6 large men who surrounded Lu Ming could feel that at least 2 of them were not weaker than Su Tuesday. They were at level 3 of the Empty God Realm. The other 4 were at level 2 of the Empty God Realm. As for the young man not far away, Lu Ming could tell that he was at Demigod Realm. However, the 2 large men and an elder behind the young man were unfathomable. It was impossible to estimate their cultivation levels. Lu Ming's heart sank. This kind of power was not something he could fight against. In the Heaven Realm, Lu Ming could dominate the Primordial Realm and Evil God Realm. He could directly mobilize the energy of the Primordial Realm and Evil God Realm. Therefore, he could easily kill a level 3 Empty God Realm existence. However, after leaving the Heaven Realm and coming to the chaotic universe, Lu Ming naturally could not mobilize the energy of the Primordial Realm and Evil God Realm. Even if Lu Ming activated double combat strength, he would not be a match for a level 3 Empty God Realm expert. Needless to say, there were stronger existences. However, Lu Ming would not sit still and wait for death. He instinctively released his aura and was cautious. Only at the Transformation Void Martial Realm. When they saw Lu Ming's aura, not only was Kong Long stunned, but the others were also stunned. Then, they relaxed and revealed a relaxed expression. He was just at the Transformation Void Martial Realm. Any one of them could easily suppress him. What was there to be nervous about? Originally, they thought that Lu Ming was a great expert. Lu Ming saw the expressions of the crowd. Lu Ming's heart jumped and he had a plan. A Transformation Void Martial Realm expert. Kid, did you sneak out? Kong Long asked coldly. He thought that Lu Ming must have sneaked out when Su Tu and the others were not prepared. That's right. What do you want? Lu Ming pretended to have a drastic change in expression. He retreated continuously, looking nervous. You really sneaked out. Kong Long sneered and said, let me ask you. How are the people who entered your world? What are they doing? Those despicable guys are slaughtering and killing innocent people. They are simply inhumane. Lu Ming pretended to be infuriated. He was infuriated. Ha ha ha, Kong Long and the others laughed out loud. Forget it. Let them play. Kid, kneel down and surrender. I have something to ask you. Kong Long waved his hand. You want me to surrender? Don't even think about it. I am the top genius of the Heaven Realm. I see that you are not old. I challenge you now. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Lu Ming shouted. How dare you? What qualifications do you have to challenge the young master? You are just an ant. I will kill you with one palm. A burly man said ferociously. Wait. Kong Long waved his hand and stopped the burly man. Chapter 2571. Kong Long waved his hand and stopped the burly man. He looked at Lu Ming with interest and said, You're the top genius of your world. That's right. You don't look old. Do you dare to accept my challenge? Lu Ming said loudly. How long have you been cultivating? If you've been cultivating for too long, you're not qualified to be my opponent. Kong Long said proudly. I've been cultivating for more than 8,000 years. Lu Ming said arrogantly. He had heard from the ancestral Gragon that those who hadn't cultivated for more than 10,000 years were considered the top geniuses of the younger generation in the chaotic universe. Therefore, he said 8,000 years. It's not bad to have such a cultivation after 8,000 years. Alright, I'll play with you. Kong Long said proudly and stepped forward. He was curious about the skills of a top genius from a small Kiliacosm. As a top genius himself, he naturally wanted to test Lu Ming's skills. Young master, don't take risks, a burly man said worriedly. What did you say? Take risks? Are you looking down on me? Do you think I'll lose to a native from a small Kiliacosm? Kong Long stopped and looked at the burly man coldly. His face was gloomy. The burly man's expression changed drastically. His back was drenched in cold sweat as he knelt down in fear. Young master, this subordinate didn't mean that. This subordinate didn't mean that. Please spare my life, young master. Kong Long was the son of the Yuan Luo Palace master. He was talented and loved. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been given the entire planet Dark Underworld as his territory. Moreover, Kong Long's methods were cruel, and he killed people without batting an eyelid. Provoking him would only result in death. It would be strange if he wasn't scared to death. I've been cultivating for more than 500 years and I've reached the demigod realm. My combat strength is enough to kill a rank 1 empty god. What are you afraid of? Do you think a native from a small kiliacosm can harm me? Kong Long said again, and his voice became colder. No, how could that be? Young master is a peerless genius. How could this bumpkin be a match for young master? Yes. I dare to bet that this native won't be able to withstand 3 moves from young master. No, 1 move is enough. The others spoke one after another, flattering him. Only then did Kong Long's expression become a little better. Step back, don't get in the way. Kong Long waved his hand. The others could only retreat. In their opinion, Lu Ming was only at the transformation void martial stage. Moreover, a native of the spirit space was not a threat to Kong Long at all. They were very relieved about this. Seeing this, Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He had achieved his goal. As long as these people looked down on him, he would challenge Kong Long and take the opportunity to take Kong Long hostage. Only then would he have a chance to survive. He put on an act and Kong Long fell for it. At the same time, he was secretly shocked. Kong Long had only cultivated for about 500 years, and he had already reached the demigod realm. This was an unbelievable feat in the heavenly world, primordial realm, and fiend god realm. He had cultivated for less than 500 years, but he was different and could not be judged according to common sense. Moreover, in terms of cultivation, he had not reached the demigod realm. In addition, people like Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, and Dandan could not be judged according to common sense. However, Kong Long was able to cultivate to the demigod realm in 500 years. This talent was extremely shocking. Moreover, he had said that his combat strength was comparable to a level 1 empty god realm existence. The chaotic universe was indeed not comparable to the heavenly world, primordial realm, or fiend god realm. As soon as Lu Ming came out, he encountered a powerful supreme talent. Young man, make your move. Let me see what a native of the spirit space is capable of. Kong Long stepped forward and was not far away from Lu Ming, his face full of arrogance. Boom! Lu Ming made his move. However, he did not use the path of the sovereign. Instead, he used the strength of his physical body to throw out a punch. What a stable space! When he threw out a punch, Lu Ming felt that something was different. His current physical strength was equivalent to a peak heavenly emperor. If he was in the heavenly world, primordial realm, or fiend god realm, the space would collapse into pieces with a punch. But now, when he threw out a punch, he found that the space was incomparably stable. Not even a trace of ripple was produced. Insignificant skill. A disdainful smile appeared on Kong Long's face as he punched out as well. His fist was covered with a thin layer of divine power. Boom! The 2 fists collided heavily. Then, Lu Ming's body shook violently and he retreated, spitting out a mouthful of blood. With this little strength, you are also the number 1 supreme talent of a spirit space? A spirit space is indeed a native. Old bumpkin, I will cripple you now and take you back to refine medicine. Kong Long's contempt grew. With a wave of his hand, he attacked Lu Ming continuously. When the others saw that Lu Ming was beaten to the point of vomiting blood by Kong Long, they immediately relaxed. In their opinion, Lu Ming was indeed an ordinary void transformation realm martial artist. It was impossible for him to be Kong Long's opponent. Lu Ming tried his best to resist, pretending to be defeated. In fact, he was secretly triggering the battle formula. Kong Long's cultivation was in the demigod realm. His combat strength was indeed very strong, far surpassing the demigods that Lu Ming had encountered. In the heavenly world, primordial realm, and fiend god realm, there were no other demigods who could compare to him. He was not lying when he said that he could fight with a first-level nihility god. Therefore, Lu Ming wanted to trigger double combat strength so that he could suppress Kong Long in one fell swoop before the others could react. Haha, kid, kneel down and beg for mercy. Maybe I can spare you and spare your life. Kong Long laughed arrogantly, his attacks becoming more and more violent. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The double combat strength of the battle formula was triggered. Is that so? There was a strange smile at the corners of Lu Ming's lips. Boom! Lu Ming counterattacked. He stretched out his hand and the Sovereign's Dao exploded, directly defeating Kong Long's attack. He grabbed Kong Long's wrist and shook it forcefully. Crack! Kong Long's body shook like a sieve, his bones breaking inch by inch. At the same time, Lu Ming clasped Kong Long's neck. Kong Long was like a pile of mud, unable to move at all. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. By the time the others realized it, it was too late. What's going on? Kid, what are you doing? Let go of young master. You're courting death. The others roared in anger, releasing a terrifying aura. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The two burly men and an old man behind Kong Long were definitely above the fourth-level nihility god realm. They were extremely terrifying. If you take a step forward, he will die. Lu Ming said coldly. The Sovereign's Dao shrouded Kong Long. As long as he willed it, Kong Long would die. Those people stopped in their tracks, not daring to take a step forward. Kid, despicable native, let go of me, quick. At this moment, Kong Long roared in anger. Of course, he now understood that Lu Ming had been putting on an act previously. He had deliberately pretended to be weak so that he could take advantage of the situation to trap him. If I let you go, wouldn't I be courting death? When I'm safe, I'll let you go. Lu Ming said coldly. Kong Long's anger soared to the sky, but under such circumstances, he could only endure it. Lu Ming kept flying. He purposely flew in a secluded place. After half a day, he had lost track of how far he had flown. He flew into a barren mountain and there was no one around. After flying there, Lu Ming stuffed Kong Long into the mountain river diagram and continued to fly forward. In the blink of an eye, another day had passed. Lu Ming flew into a barren mountain. Roar! Suddenly, a loud roar came from below. The roar was so loud that it shook the mountains. Then, a bloody mouth rushed out from below and bit at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. He unleashed all his strength and unleashed the Sovereign Dao to stomp down. The Sovereign Dao condensed into a giant purple gold foot and stomped on the mouth. With a loud boom, the purple gold foot collapsed and Lu Ming was sent flying by a powerful force. What a terrifying force! It's equivalent to a level 2 empty god realm martial artist. What is that? Lu Ming was shocked. With the help of this force, he flew quickly. Bang! Bang! The earth rumbled. Lu Ming saw a giant creature that was as big as a mountain. It stomped on the ground and chased after Lu Ming. Chapter 2573. It was a living creature that Lu Ming had never seen before. It was covered in scales and its hind legs were thick and strong. However, its front legs were very short and small, curled up in front of its body. Its head was like a lizard's and its mouth was huge and filled with terrifying fangs. Its hind legs were running at an astonishing speed. What surprised Lu Ming was that it was emitting a terrifying dragon power. Lu Ming did not bother with it and flew with all his might. Currently, he had not triggered the double combat strength. Hence, he was no match for a level 2 empty god. After flying for a while, the creature stopped when it saw that it could not catch up with Lu Ming. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. After that, Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. He retracted his aura and slowed down. Who knew if there were other powerful beings in the barbaric mountain range? Indeed, after flying for a while, Lu Ming saw another huge creature. It was similar to the previous one, but its aura was more terrifying. It was at level 3 empty god realm. Fortunately, Lu Ming had discovered it early and avoided it from afar. Let's ask Senior Zhu Long. Lu Ming's heart stirred. A light and shadow flashed and ancestral Gregon appeared. Zhu Long had been on guard. When he appeared, he immediately scanned the surroundings. He was relieved when he saw that Lu Ming was alone. Lu Ming, what happened? Did you escape? Zhu Long was surprised. This time, it was a gamble and the chances of success were not high. He was even prepared for Lu Ming to fail and they would all be arrested. At this moment, he saw that Lu Ming was alone in the middle of a barbaric mountain range. Naturally, he was extremely surprised. Senior, I was lucky to take the first step. Lu Ming immediately told Zhu Long about the situation. The son of Yuan Luo Hall Master. It seems like he is the son of Yuan Luo Hall Master. Zhu Long's eyes moved. He had stayed in the heaven realm for countless years, while Kong Long had only cultivated for about 500 years. Naturally, ancestral Gregon did not know Kong Long. Lu Ming, you must get hold of Kong Long. We are still on the Dark Underworld star. The Yuan Luo Palace will definitely send a large number of experts to capture you. You might be useful at a critical moment. Ancestral Dragon said. Senior, how do we leave planet Dark Underworld? Lu Ming asked. The Dark Underworld star is huge. It's much bigger than the Heaven Realm, the Primordial Realm, and the Evil God Realm combined. If you want to leave the Dark Underworld star and go to other planets, you have to take the space teleportation formation. Ancestral Dragon said. In that case, we can use Kong Long to threaten them, and then use the teleportation formation to leave this place. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. No! Ancestral Gregon shook his head inside. There must be a terrifying existence guarding the teleportation formation. It was normal for them to send a large number of experts to hunt him down. After that, Lu Ming became more careful. However, in the next few days, Lu Ming discovered that the number of experts in the city had decreased instead of increasing. Some people even walked into the city and looked around with sharp eyes. It was as if the other party had locked onto the city. Lu Ming returned to the inn and summoned Ancestral Gregon. He told him about this matter. Oh no, the other party must have locked onto you. You just came out of the Heaven Realm and haven't assimilated with the chaotic universe. There must be a strong aura of the Heaven Realm on your body. It won't be difficult for the other party to lock onto you as long as they spend some time studying you. Ancestral Gregon's face changed drastically. Lu Ming's face also changed. However, the other party didn't find you immediately. This means that they can only determine the general area and can't pinpoint your exact location. Now, you have to leave this place quickly. Ancestral Gregon said. All right. Lu Ming didn't hesitate and kept Ancestral Gregon into his small world. Lu Ming directly left the inn and headed out of the city. Soon, Lu Ming exited the city gate. He randomly chose a direction and flew forward. Stop! After Lu Ming flew for a while, two people flew toward him and one of them reprimanded him. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. They were two middle-aged men and both of them were empty gods. One of them was holding a crystal ball in his hand. At this moment, the crystal ball was shining with a faint light. The two middle-aged men flew towards Lu Ming. When they got close to Lu Ming, the crystal ball suddenly shone brightly. It's him! The two middle-aged men's eyes lit up. Swoosh! Lu Ming dashed out and flew in another direction at high speed. Stop right there. Chase after him. The two middle-aged burly men chased after Lu Ming at high speed. Chapter 2575. The crystal balls in the two middle-aged men's hands could clearly sense Lu Ming's aura. As soon as the crystal balls got close to him, they lit up. Lu Ming's face darkened as he flew at top speed. However, as time passed, the distance between him and the two middle-aged men narrowed. "Brat, you can't escape," one of the men said malevolently with an oppressive aura. The two middle-aged men were at level 2 empty god realm. Under normal circumstances, Lu Ming would not be a match for them. As such, Lu Ming constantly activated the battle character art as he flew. Boom! There seemed to be an explosion in his body. The battle character art had successfully activated the double combat strength. Lu Ming did not attack immediately but continued to fly. In the blink of an eye, both parties were far away from the city and flew into a forest. Swoosh! Suddenly, Lu Ming's figure, which was flying at high speed, stopped abruptly. Not only that, but he also dashed toward the two burly middle-aged men. A combat sword appeared in his hands and he slashed with it. The two middle-aged burly men did not expect Lu Ming to suddenly stop running. Instead, he charged toward them. They could not stop themselves in time and dashed toward Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! The two middle-aged men also made their moves. They each made a move. However, the situation was too sudden. They could only display at most 50% of their battle prowess. Level 2 empty god realm martial artists could only use 50% of their combat strength. They could not block Lu Ming's attack at all. Poof! One of the middle-aged men did not even have the chance to scream as he was slashed into two by Lu Ming's sword. Not good, the other burly man hastily retreated. Kill! Lu Ming held his combat sword and charged towards the middle-aged man with cold killing intent. The middle-aged man finally recovered and took out a combat sword to slash at Lu Ming. Clang! The combat sword and saber collided and the middle-aged man retreated. Although Lu Ming, who had activated the battle character art, was not a match for a level 3 empty god realm martial artist, he had the upper hand against a level 2 empty god realm martial artist. After knocking back the middle-aged man with one move, Lu Ming continued to attack his opponent, unleashing a barrage of attacks. The middle-aged man's roar was like thunder. Naturally, he was unwilling to be killed, so he fought back with all his might. Clang! 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 The two of them continued to clash. However, Lu Ming's battle prowess was ultimately stronger. The middle-aged man was no match for him. After a dozen or so exchanges, his arms were torn apart and he was sent flying backwards, spitting out blood. Whoosh! Lu Ming became one with his sword and rushed over, killing the middle-aged man. You're courting death. At this moment, two figures flew over from the direction of the city, emitting cold killing intent. Clearly, the commotion caused by the battle here had alerted the other experts of the Yuan Luo Palace. Lu Ming's face darkened. With a wave of his hand, he collected the storage rings of the two middle-aged men, then turned into a beam of light and flew away at top speed. The two people who came later were extremely powerful. One of them was at level 2 empty god realm, while the other had a terrifying aura. He was at level 3 empty god realm. This was not the heaven region. Lu Ming could mobilize the power of the heaven region, the Yuan realm, and the evil god realm. In this place, Lu Ming was definitely not a match for a level 3 empty god realm expert. Lu Ming flew at top speed, with the two people chasing after him. The two of them looked middle-aged. One of them was a burly man with a horn on his head, while the other was a human with disheveled hair. The human man's cultivation was at level 3 empty god realm. In the blink of an eye, the two parties had flown for tens of thousands of miles. Swoosh! At this moment, a figure suddenly dashed out of a mountain peak in front of Lu Ming. It was a burly old man. The old man was also holding a crystal ball in his hands. At this moment, the crystal ball was reflecting light. Ha ha ha, I've searched high and low, only to find it by chance. The burly old man laughed and threw a punch at Lu Ming. A terrifying fist force pressed down on Lu Ming. Rumble. Before the fist force arrived, it brought along a terrifying wave, causing Lu Ming to hold his breath. Lu Ming unleashed all his strength and slashed out with his sword. Buzz buzz buzz, the combat sword and the fist force collided, causing the combat sword to vibrate violently. Lu Ming felt a violent force surging towards him. He could not help but take a few steps back as the blood in his body churned. Level 3 Empty God Realm is indeed powerful. Lu Ming steadied himself and looked solemn. With his current combat strength, he was unable to deal with a level 3 Empty God Realm expert. Unless his cultivation had broken through to a level 3 Heavenly Emperor and the battle character skill had doubled his combat strength, he would be able to fight against a level 3 Empty God Realm expert. The moment Lu Ming stopped, the two people behind caught up and surrounded Lu Ming. 2 level 3 Empty God Realm experts and 1 level 2 Empty God Realm expert. Hee, kid, let's see how you're going to escape this time. The single-horned burly man sneered. Lu Ming frowned. He was no match for the 2 level 3 Empty God Realm experts. He wanted to use Kong Long to threaten them. With Kong Long in his hand, he did not believe that they would dare to attack him. Kill! However, at this moment, the burly man with messy hair struck directly. He was very decisive. A long spear appeared in his hand. A terrifying spear gleam, accompanied by a terrifying whistling sound, pierced toward Lu Ming. Without giving Lu Ming a chance to react, Lu Ming could only swing his sword to block the attack. Dang! The combat sword and the long spear collided and Lu Ming retreated quickly. Kill! Kill! The burly old man and the single-horned burly man attacked Lu Ming. The old man's fist force was terrifying. He was wearing a pair of gloves that were obviously a sacred weapon and each of his punches was terrifying. Lu Ming tried his best to block a few blows and his body was in pain as though it was going to split open. Just as Lu Ming was at a disadvantage, there was a sudden change. The burly man with messy hair suddenly changed his spear force. He was no longer attacking Lu Ming but the burly old man. The burly old man had never expected that the burly old man would suddenly attack him and he was caught off guard. Poof! The long spear pierced through the burly old man's glabella and the burly old man died. Lu Ming was stunned and the single-horned burly man was stunned as well. He then shouted, Song Mo, what are you doing? Kill! The burly man with messy hair responded to the single-horned burly man with a cold shout. He took the opportunity to pull out his long spear and swept it across the single-horned burly man's body. The single-horned burly man screamed as his body was split into two and he was on the verge of death. Go down and find the answer yourself. The burly man with messy hair said coldly. He then thrust his spear again and ended the life of the single-horned burly man. The burly old man and the single-horned burly man were killed by the burly man with messy hair in an instant. Lu Ming retreated cautiously. He was very curious as to why the other party would suddenly kill each other. The burly man with messy hair looked at Lu Ming with a complicated look in his eyes. He seemed to be reminiscing. He pondered for a moment and said, Are you from the Heaven Realm? Lu Ming also shouted coldly. Since ancient times, almost all the half-gods who came out of the Heaven Realm and the Primordial Realm have been controlled by the Yuan Luo Hall and have become their slaves. If there's anything dangerous, they will send us to do it. If things don't go their way, they will control the restrictions to torture us. And we can't escape at all. Once we leave a certain range of the Yuan Luo Hall, the restrictions will activate and we will suffer a fate worse than death. Song Mo said again. At the end, his voice was filled with helplessness and desolation. Lu Ming's face was also gloomy. He could understand Song Mo's feelings. In the Heaven Realm and the Evil God world, they had reached the Half-God Realm and stood at the peak. They came to the Eldritch universe with great ambition, wanting to reach a higher realm. But in reality, they had become the Yuan Luo Hall's slaves. How sad was that? You should be cultivating the law system. I have met a few half-gods from the heaven realm who cultivated the law system and cultivated a small world. But once they come to the Eldritch universe, the small world will merge with the Eldritch universe after a year. You must escape from the dark underworld star within a year. Otherwise, you will be found by the Yuan Luo Hall's experts. Song Imo said. Senior, do you have any ideas? Lu Ming asked. There are only two ways to leave the dark underworld star. One is to take the Starry Sky teleportation formation. The other is to leave on a Starry Sky battleship. But now, the entire dark underworld star is looking for you. The teleportation formation is guarded by terrifying experts. Once you go, you will be discovered. And a Starry Sky battleship is very precious and rare. I don't have one. Song Mo's brows furrowed. Lu Ming was silent. The current situation was not good. He had wanted to go to the teleportation formation to see if he could fool them. But now, the other party could sense the heaven realm aura on him. If he went, he would only be walking into a trap and die. What should I do? Lu Ming frowned. Now, we can only try our luck. Song Imo pondered for a moment, then suddenly said. Try our luck. Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right. Song Imo nodded and said, throughout the years, most of the demigods that emerged from our celestial dimension have been controlled by the Origin Azura Hall. However, one person managed to escape successfully and escape the Origin Azura Hall's control. Perhaps you've heard of that person. The people of the celestial dimension call him the Technique Ancestor. The Ancestor of Techniques. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He had heard of the Ancestor of Techniques. He was a legendary figure in the heaven realm. The Ancestor of Techniques was extremely talented and rare. At the end of the ancient era, the Ancestor of Techniques appeared out of nowhere and created the law cultivation system. Furthermore, the law cultivation system rapidly expanded. In the end, the law cultivation system even defeated the ancient era cultivation system and became the mainstream cultivation system of the heaven realm. The Ancestor of Techniques' life could be written into a legend. Later on, when the Ancestor of Techniques reached the demigod realm, he left the heaven realm. The current Heavenly Thunder Emperor of the heaven realm was one of the Ancestor of Techniques' disciples. The Ancestor of Techniques broke away from the Yuan Luo Hall's control and risked his life to cultivate. In the end, he reached the true God realm and returned to the chaotic galaxy. He created a force and gathered many experts to fight against the Yuan Luo Hall. Song Imo said. Lu Ming nodded. Anyone from the heaven realm who knew the truth would want to destroy the Yuan Luo Hall. It was normal for one to fight against the Yuan Luo Hall when they had mastered the law cultivation system. For so many years, the Ancestor of Techniques' forces have become stronger and stronger. He has been fighting against the Yuan Luo Hall non-stop. On the dark underworld planet, there is a star iron mine that produces precious star iron. I heard that the Ancestor of Techniques' forces attacked the star iron mine some time ago. If you go to the star iron mine and are lucky enough to meet the Ancestor of Techniques' forces, you can leave the dark underworld planet with them. This is the only way now. Take this. Song Imo waved his hand and a jade talisman flew towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. He found that it was a huge map. This is the map of the dark underworld planet. You can find the exact location of the star iron mine by following the map. I can't stay with you for too long or I'll be exposed. Song Imo said. Chapter 2577. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming thanked him sincerely. You're welcome. You carry the hope of the heavenly boundary. I hope you can escape. Song Imo said with a smile. Senior, how can I break the seal on your body? I have mastered the Tao of Sovereign. Perhaps I can help you break the seal. Lu Ming said. His Tao of Sovereign was extremely mysterious. It might work. You've mastered the Tao of Sovereign. Song Imo was taken aback, extremely shocked. Not many people had mastered the Tao of Sovereign even in the primitive universe. Every one of them was a peerless genius whose name shook the world. Lu Ming had mastered such power. Ha ha ha, good, good. You're really the hope of the heavenly boundary. Song Imo laughed. His face was full of smiles. After a while, Song Imo said, but your cultivation is too low. The seal on my body was personally placed by the Yuan Luo Hall Master. Even if you have mastered the Tao of Sovereign, I'm afraid you'll have to wait until you reach the true immortal realm to break the seal. True immortal realm? Lu Ming muttered. As expected, it wasn't that simple. If it was that simple, the ancestor of technique would have secretly helped them break the seal. Go, be careful. I'll think of a way to lure away some of the people from the Yuan Luo Hall nearby. Song Imo said. Senior, Lu Ming will remember today's kindness. If Lu Ming escapes from danger, I'll definitely come back to save you. Lu Ming clasped his fists with a determined gaze. All right, I believe in you. Song Imo smiled. Then, Lu Ming used his movement technique and turned into a ray of light, leaving the place. After Lu Ming left, Song Imo destroyed the traces at the scene and left as well. Lu Ming flew for a while before landing on the ground. After all, flying in the air was too big of a target. Moreover, Lu Ming didn't have a fixed direction. He would go east, then west. He moved in a zigzag manner to avoid being detected by the Yuan Luo Hall. Although it was slower, it was at least safer. Just like that, Lu Ming followed the map given by Song Imo and headed toward the Star Iron Mine. The people of the Yuan Luo Palace could only capture Lu Ming's approximate location with the crystal ball. They couldn't pinpoint his exact position. Now that Lu Ming was moving quickly and constantly changing directions, it was even more difficult for the other party to capture his precise position. Therefore, Lu Ming did not encounter any experts from the Yuan Luo Hall in the following days. However, Planet Dark Underworld was too big. Lu Ming's speed was already slow. It took him more than 2 months to reach the Star Iron Mine. It was getting closer and closer to the 1-year deadline. There were less than 8 months left. After arriving here, Lu Ming became even more cautious. Because there was a terrifying expert guarding the Star Iron Mine. There was no doubt that there was a rank 7 ethereal god realm expert. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. Lu Ming restrained his aura and carefully approached the Star Iron Mine to check out the situation. This area was an endless mountain range. There were towering mountains everywhere. Lu Ming hid in one of the mountains and looked into the distance. In the distance, there were mountains and a huge Star Iron Mine appeared in front of him. There were many figures mining there. Some experts were patrolling. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Senior Song Imo and the people of the Dharma Ancestors Force came to attack this Star Iron Mine. But now, it has been a few months. Are the people of the Dharma Ancestors still here? Even if they are, how can I find them? Will they attack again? Lu Ming pondered and thoughts flashed through his mind. He decided to wait nearby. Then, Lu Ming waited near the Star Iron Mine. However, he did not stay in one place. Instead, he constantly changed his position to avoid being discovered by the other party. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. However, there was no movement. The Star Iron Mine had been operating peacefully. Have the people of the Dharma Ancestor left? Lu Ming frowned. Time was running out. Not long after, Lu Ming changed his direction again and carefully went to another mountain peak. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a chill in his heart. He felt a sense of danger. Lu Ming took a step forward and suddenly moved 100 meters to the right. Whoosh! A sword light landed on the place where Lu Ming had just stepped, cutting a deep gully in the ground. You can dodge my sword. Not bad. A clear voice sounded. Lu Ming turned around and saw a woman. This woman had jade-like skin and exquisite facial features. She was a stunning beauty. She had a thick ponytail and was wearing a tight outfit. She held a long sword in her hand and looked quite heroic. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Had he been discovered by the people of the Yuan Luo Palace? Whoosh! Lu Ming quickly retreated. At the same time, he kept using the battle formula. He wanted to trigger the double combat strength of the battle formula. You are just a transformation void martial realm martial artist. How dare you run away in front of me? Stay! The woman shouted. Her body was like a flickering shadow as she rushed toward Lu Ming. She waved her long sword and rays of bright sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's battle sword appeared in his hand and he slashed out continuously. Bam! 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 A series of explosions sounded. Lu Ming's arm went numb and he quickly retreated. What a powerful combat strength! Lu Ming was slightly shocked. This woman's cultivation was only at rank 1 empty god realm. However, her divine power was dense and powerful. Her attack strength was shocking. She could actually suppress Lu Ming. After forcing Lu Ming to retreat, the woman charged toward Lu Ming again. She waved her long sword and hundreds of rays of sword light shot out toward Lu Ming. Boom! At that moment, Lu Ming finally triggered the double combat strength of the battle formula. His battle sword vibrated and rays of sword light shot out and collided with the woman. Clang! Clang! The speed of their attacks was shocking. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. After dozens of blows, the two of them retreated a few hundred meters. They were evenly matched and it was difficult to determine the winner. Could she be a supreme talent from Yuan Luo Hall? Lu Ming thought to himself. Now that he had triggered the double combat strength of the battle formula, his combat strength was very close to rank 3 empty god realm and he could kill a rank 2 empty god realm martial artist. However, this woman was only at rank 1 empty god realm and she was able to fight him to a draw. Lu Ming was shocked. However, he did not know that the woman's heart was in turmoil. How can this be? How can his combat strength be so powerful? The woman shouted in her heart. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the transformation void martial realm and he was far from reaching the empty god realm. However, his combat strength was so strong that he could fight with her. It was unbelievable. The Sovereign Tao. The power that he possesses is the Sovereign Tao. There is actually a genius who possesses the Sovereign Tao in Star Dark Underworld. Yuan Luo Hall actually has such a supreme talent. He must be eliminated. Thoughts flashed through the woman's mind. Then, she gritted her teeth and charged toward Lu Ming with her long sword. However, at the instant that woman attacked, their expressions all changed. In the distance, a few rays of light shot out from the star iron mine. Obviously, the battle here had been discovered. Chapter 2578. Let's go. Lu Ming turned around and increased his speed to the maximum. He thought that the woman's helpers had arrived and it would be dangerous if he stayed any longer. The woman was surprised. She thought that Lu Ming would try his best to hold her back when the experts from the Star Iron Mine discovered them. She didn't expect that Lu Ming would run faster than her. Could it be that he's not from the Yuan Luo Palace? A thought flashed through the woman's mind before she left as well. Not long after they left, a few figures appeared at the place where they had fought. Looking at the ravines on the ground, one of the old men sneered. It seems like the righteous army hasn't given up and is still lingering nearby. Hee, their people have been captured by us. Naturally, they want to save them. Let's wait and catch them all in one fell swoop. Another old woman sneered. Their figures flashed and they disappeared from the place. Lu Ming ran for more than 100,000 miles before he stopped and found a place to rest. I'll observe here for a while. If it doesn't work, I'll have to find a hidden place on the dark underworld star and merge the small world with the chaotic universe. Lu Ming thought. Although there was a great risk in doing so and there was a high chance that the experts from the Yuan Luo Palace would discover them, he had no other choice. After resting for 2 days, Lu Ming headed towards the star iron mine. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming walked for a while before he heard the sound of an intense battle ahead. It was obvious that someone was fighting. Lu Ming's eyes moved. He retracted his aura and carefully approached. In front of him, 3 middle-aged men were attacking a woman. It's her. Lu Ming's eyes moved. The lady who was besieged was actually the beautiful lady who had attacked Lu Ming previously. At this moment, the woman was being attacked by 3 men and was in a dangerous situation. 2 of the 3 men were at the 2nd level of the Empty God Realm while the other was at the 3rd level of the Empty God Realm. Although the woman was strong, she was no match for the 3 men. A chick from the Righteous Law Army. Not bad, she's quite tasty. I'll take her down and enjoy her, haha. The rank 3 Empty God Realm man wielded a metal rod. When he waved it around, a loud rumbling sound could be heard. With one strike, the woman's body trembled violently and she was sent flying. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her face was pale as snow. Yuan Luo Palace bastard, the woman gritted her teeth and tried her best to rush to the side, but the 3 men held her tightly, making it impossible for her to escape. So she's not from the Yuan Luo Palace, but from the Jingtian army. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It was truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance without any effort. It doesn't matter if you're really from the same hometown as the general, but it's a fact that you're enemies with Yuan Luo Palace. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. However, it's impossible to bring you to see the general now. The young woman shook her head and sighed. What's going on? Lu Ming had a bad premonition. Last time, some of us attacked the planet Dark Underworld Star Iron Mine with the intention of stealing their ore. However, we didn't expect them to prepare an ambush beforehand. Some of us died in battle, some were captured, and only a few escaped. The senior who controlled the star warship was also captured. Now, the star warship is in their hands. If we want to escape from the planet Dark Underworld, we must first rescue those from the Righteous Army and take back the star warship. The young woman said. Lu Ming was speechless. It wasn't easy for him to meet the Righteous Army, but he didn't expect them to end up in the same situation as him. They were also trapped and couldn't escape. Now, there are many experts from Yuan Luo Palace in the Star Iron Mine. They're waiting for us to attack so that they can catch all of us in one fell swoop. During this period of time, I've been nearby checking for news. The young woman said. Lu Ming finally understood why the young woman had attacked him the moment she saw him. She must have thought that he was from Yuan Luo Palace and wanted to capture him to get information. What's the cultivation of the strongest expert in the Star Iron Mine? Lu Ming pondered for a while and asked. Level 9 Empty God Realm. The young woman said. What's the cultivation of the people who escaped? Lu Ming asked again. There's also a level 9 Empty God Realm expert, but there's only one of them. However, there are a few level 9 empty gods in the Star Iron Mine. Therefore, we're no match for them. The young woman said. There's also a level 9 empty god realm expert. Haha, that's enough. I can help you rescue them and take back the star warship. Lu Ming laughed loudly. Chapter 2579. You have a way. The young lady was puzzled. She did not believe him. Lu Ming had a way to save the Righteous Army and take back the Starry Sky battleship. How was that possible? Although Lu Ming was extremely talented, his cultivation was still low. His combat strength was on par with hers. What could he do? There were at least a few level 9 empty god realm experts in the Star Iron Mine. As for level 7 and 8 empty god realm experts, Lu Ming would be killed with a slap. Sometimes, you don't need to use force to save people. I'll show you something and you'll know. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. A person appeared in his hand. This person was the young master of Yuan Luo Palace, Kong Long. A person. At first, the young woman was stunned, but then, her beautiful eyes suddenly widened. This is the young master of Yuan Luo Palace, Kong Long? The young lady exclaimed softly. She had not expected to meet Kong Long here. Have you seen him before? Lu Ming asked. A few times. The young lady said. She seemed to have thought of something and a bright smile appeared on her face. Kong Long had been locked up by Lu Ming for half a year and was in a daze. He was stunned for a while before he could see the situation clearly. Brat, you're dead. Let me tell you, you're dead. Let me go now or I'll kill you. Ah! Tong Shi, what are you doing here? Kong Long roared when he saw Lu Ming. Then, he looked at the young lady and was stunned. Kong Long, I didn't expect you to end up like this. Ha ha ha, looks like I'm lucky. Tong Shi looked at Kong Long and sneered. What are you trying to do? Kong Long's face turned pale. You talk too much. Lu Ming said. He waved his hand and kept Kong Long again. My cultivation is not high enough. Even with Kong Long, I'll be killed in an instant if I meet an expert above level 7 Empty God Realm. However, you have a level 9 Empty God Realm expert. If you let him exchange Kong Long for the Righteous Army and the Starry Sky battleship, you'll be confident. Lu Ming said. This was his plan. Kong Long wouldn't be of much use to him. If he could exchange him for the Righteous Sky Army's people and starships, then he could leave planet Dark Underworld. Moreover, he would be indebted to the Righteous Sky Army, so why not? Alright, if I can succeed this time, we will be extremely grateful. Tong Shi face Kong Long, by the way, my name is Tong Shi. What's your name? Tong Shi Lu Ming replied. Brother Lu, let's go. I'll bring you to see the Righteous Army. Tong Shi said. After that, her figure flashed and flew towards a certain direction. Lu Ming followed Tong Shi. The two of them did not fly in the air. Instead, they ran on the ground. However, their speed was still very fast. After running for a few hours, the two of them arrived at a rather remote canyon. Who? As soon as the two of them arrived, a cold shout rang out. Chapter 2580. Alright, there's no time to lose. I'll go and rescue them. You two, follow me. After Deputy General Sun took Kong Long, he looked at the two burly men. The two burly men were at level 8 Empty God Realm. Besides Deputy General Sun, they were the ones with the highest cultivation. Immediately, the three of them carried Kong Long and flew away. Lu Ming did not need to worry about what happened after that. He believed that Deputy General Sun would find a way to successfully exchange for the Starry Sky battleship and the members of the Jingtian army. Kong Long was the young master of Yuan Luo Palace. With him as a hostage, the people of Yuan Luo Palace would not dare to reject the exchange. Lu Ming and the others only needed to wait quietly. In less than a day, Deputy General Sun and the others returned with more than 20 people. Success. Lu Ming knew that Deputy General Sun and the others had succeeded. Let's go. Let's leave planet Dark Underworld. The people of Yuan Luo Palace will definitely hunt us down. Deputy General Sun said. With that, he waved his hand and a small boat appeared in the air. The shape of the boat was strange. It did not look like a boat. Instead, it looked similar to the flying shuttle that Lu Ming had seen in Yuanlu. The two ends of the boat were pointed and formed the shape of a shuttle. The body of the boat was pitch black and strange runes were engraved on its surface. Lu Ming knew that this must be the Starry Sky battleship. It was a battleship that could travel in the universe. Lu Ming's heart burned with excitement. This kind of battleship was shockingly expensive. This was because true gods could only stay in the universe for a short period of time and could not travel across the universe. Only true gods had the ability to travel across the universe from one planet to another. This showed how precious the Starry Sky battleship was. If one could have one, they would be able to travel freely in the universe. As soon as the Starry Sky battleship appeared in the air, it expanded rapidly. "All of you, come in," Deputy General Sun said. Swoosh! 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 Everyone rushed into the Starry Sky battleship. Deputy General Sun was the last to enter. When he entered the Starry Sky battleship, the Starry Sky battleship turned into a beam of light and shot into the sky. Swoosh! The Starry Sky battleship was like a beam of light shooting into space. Soon, it rushed out of the atmosphere and entered the starry sky. On the walls of the starship, there were transparent crystals. Through these crystals, one could see what was happening outside. Lu Ming looked outside through the crystal. He could see that the land behind him was beginning to shrink. Soon, a blue planet appeared below. "This is the dark underworld planet." Lu Ming was shocked to see a planet appear in front of him for the first time. In the heaven realm, such a scene could not be seen. The righteous planet was named after the righteous army occupied this place. Naturally, it wasn't called this before. What a huge planet! Looking from afar, Lu Ming felt that the righteous planet was shockingly huge. Its volume was at least several times larger than the dark underworld planet. It gave off a strong visual impact. The Starry Sky battleship slowed down and slowly approached the righteous planet. Slowly, Lu Ming could see mountain ranges, large rivers, and even huge cities on the righteous planet. Not long after, they entered the atmosphere of the righteous planet. At this time, Deputy General Sun put away the Starry Sky battleship and they appeared in the air. What a rich divine qi! Lu Ming took a deep breath. He felt that the divine qi here was incomparably rich. It was more than twice as rich as the dark underworld planet. This kind of cultivation environment was too good. "Let's go." Deputy General Sun took the lead and flew towards a mountain peak. Lu Ming and the others followed. This mountain peak was incomparably wide. There were many palaces built on it. It was grand and magnificent. Between the mountain peaks, there were constantly experts flying back and forth. So many experts. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. At a glance, he saw that most of the experts in the city were in the Void God realm. Those below the Void God realm were in the minority. However, Lu Ming also understood that this should be the headquarters of the righteous army. There were naturally many experts here. Other places definitely wouldn't have so many experts. Soon, they arrived at a square. "Shi-er, take Lu Ming to the living room and wait. I'll go and report to the general. If he knows that a fellow villager has come, he'll definitely be very happy." Deputy General Sun said. "Okay." Tong Shi nodded. Then, she looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, come with me. Let's go to the living room." "Okay." Lu Ming nodded and followed Tong Shi. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.